No, Randy, there are a lot of things that people are never gonna say about me. Fragile, demure.
All right, we're gonna call the Facilities Committee meeting to order at 5 o'clock. The call of the roll, so we are all in attendance. So the next item is approval of the October 23rd minutes.
So approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. All right, so that passes. And no public comment or,
None that I know of.
okay. There aren't any items placed at the request of the chair, and so then we move on to staff and recreation reports. So the Fair and Fair Board, Deb?
Good evening. Well, we're looking into big time into 2025. So have your calendars marked for that last full week in July. Since I was last here, we did get a lead on some pens from, for the, to be used in the Coverall building. And so we purchased 26 pens, and that money came from the commission that we earn on the meat animal sale. So we were excited. Derek and Troy took a day vacation and went over to Rusk County and picked them all up. And I personally haven't seen them. I've just seen many, many pictures of them, but they're all stored right now in the in the white building across the road. And then hopefully next year when we put them up for the fair, and we talked to Scott already, and they'll stay up permanently. These are a little bit different pens than what the Triton pens are that we normally use down there. So they're only 3-sided, so we'll be putting them against the wall. So that'll be a nice addition to have those 26 pens, because we were doing a fundraising thing to earn money to order more Triton, and these fell in our lap, and we were lucky to be the winning person to get them. So we are working on our theme. We have several suggestions for next year that, in fact, when we talked about them at the meeting, we couldn't come up to a decision which one we wanted. So we might be combining a couple of them because it is our 140th year next year. So we're trying to come up with something unique and exciting about that. The carcass clinic, there was no carcass clinic, but they're working on rules. The rules are done and been approved by the Meat Animal Committee as part of that piece. And we're working on fair updates. I'm hiring judges. I've got the contracts already to go out for the commercial buildings and the food vendors. And we got the convention coming up in January that I guess Larry and I are going to. So that should be exciting. They have a great keynote speaker coming, and he's doing several workshops. So can't wait to see him. He's a very exciting and dynamic person. So I guess, Larry, did you say anything last time when I wasn't here, or Ron, about the district meeting? And
I don't know, we maybe didn't discuss it, but what are we, District 9?
2.
District 2. Is that, okay. For the districts, people going to the convention, they're all going to be wearing somewhat similar outfits. And I think ours is going to be construction type, and some are going to be flannel or deer hunting or something like that.
Yeah.
But in cleaning out the highway shop building, did come across one really nifty artifact. And I picked it up, and in fact, somebody might have handed it to me and says, Larry, hang on to this. And it is what would it be, like a vest from the 50s or 40s, where it's orange and 2 straps hangs over and it ties on the side, and it says Dunn County Fair on it.
Oh, a penny. That's called a penny.
A penny?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm really.
Yeah, it is.
They used to be quite common. I would,
Yep.
To have playing basketball and stuff.
Yeah.
oh, well,
Yeah.
anyway, that's gonna be my contribution.
Yeah. So we'll be looking for different things and maybe put a display in the commercial building
Right.
with some, if anybody has any old artifacts from the fair, that'd be great. And let's see,
Well-
we also are, Zach is actually talking to the Rossback Museum to see about putting a display up for the fair, to have some artifacts there. So, yeah, should be fun to do that, so.
We have the old milk house that can be closed up.
Mhm.
That has not been used for anything, and they've taken all the interior stuff out of it. Scott's got the best deal we can on selling it. And, but then that gives us a secure location for
Extension.
Rossback, you know,
It is.
historical artifacts.
Yep, and Zach is working with them from Extension, so, yeah, so we're moving ahead, so. Anybody has any questions?
If not, thanks. All right, so next is facilities and parks.
Good evening, everyone. The things in facilities are moving along well, with a couple of dustings of snow. The guys have been sweeping, salting, and shoveling already, and going pretty good. The equipment is running pretty good, although we did run into an issue today with our salter for the parking lots. It's has a gas engine on it that drives it, and salt had collected and rusted it up the carburetor. So the carburetor is non-functional. So we have to get a new one for that, and then it'll be up and functional again. So glad we found out early on so that we get it fixed. Otherwise, things are going along good. The new staff that we have, or I guess we have one new staff currently that hasn't been through the winter. He's getting broken into the winter routine, which is going to go well. Got recruitment is going good for a facilities technician. An offer was made for technician position that was accepted, and he's going through the onboarding process. Then once that's done, we'll have a date set up for starting and get him on board. We finished up the interviews for the facility worker position today. Candidate will be selected and an offer will be made by Friday. And then interviews for custodian position have been finished up, and a candidate was selected and an offer was made. And that offer is being considered. I should find out tomorrow on that and get that moving forward. For projects, the pressure washing of the government center and judicial center has been fully completed. All the windows were washed after they got done with that. I think the buildings are looking a lot better, a lot cleaner look to them. Yesterday, the old Carpenter electrical shop out back here was taken down. Highway demoed it and hauled it away, and then concrete was removed and the site was covered with black dirt. So in the spring, it'll look a little different out there, more green space and less old stuff. That building was getting pretty worn. The roof was starting to cave in, and concrete floor inside was all broken up, and it really wasn't a usable building for anything. So we opted to get rid of it. Update on the camera and carburetor system. This building, the cameras are all installed. There's 3 doors left to be hooked up on the card reader system. And then they've been working over at Judicial Center on cameras, pulling wire and getting cameras replaced. And then next, the guy will go from here over to Judicial Center for the locks, doing the card readers. And then after that, I'm guessing it'll be the neighbors and then highway and transit to finish things up. Dan, do you have any other updates on that at all, or?
No, just, I guess in addition to that, we're gonna do new cards for everybody. That'll be worked on as we kind of get everything together for security and then I do know just the the bailiffs have already voiced their support for the camera system. It's got some good features of being able to potentially upload pictures of persons of interest, and it'll automatically send notifications and send you over if somebody walks into the building or does something like that, and track them through the building, which is one of the big things that they like to monitor as things are happening. So it's working out really well for them. So, and that's with not even all the cameras done over there. So, they're happy.
Good. And along with the new cards that staff will be issued, there will be some collection of keys from staff. I'll work through that because the keys that have been issued for the exterior of the door will no longer work. It'll be card access only. So I'll be working through that. Then the fleet is running good, no issues. All the cars are working good. Everybody's appreciating the new cars and clean new cars, low mileage and running good. So that's all working. The financial report, you have included the report through, is that through October? I think that's what it was, is through October, yes, through October 24. So November hasn't been fully loaded into that yet. We'll have that at the next meeting, but things in finance are running good. The financials were on budget, so I don't see anything out of the ordinary there. And let's see, you guys got a copy of stay in with things monthly report. And then we have the energy, the solar geo process, and Dan has update on that.
Yeah. So as we've been going through the solar and geothermal stuff, and now with the budget approved, an RFQ has been released and we're receiving responses from that. The statute that allows us to do what they call performance contracting which is kind of the fancy way for saying that we're going to use the cost savings from another endeavor in order to pay for this process, does require the full county board to evaluate the bids at a noticed meeting, and a really long sentence of what needs to be done. So as we look at the logistics about going about that with a 29-person board, it gets to be really difficult. So what we had determined to be the best path forward would be to have this committee evaluate the bids at your next meeting, and then make a recommendation based on those bids to the full board. At the board meeting, we will provide all of the bids to all of the board members to be able to evaluate that and to make their decision. But the other part of our board rules is we require a written resolution at our full board meeting. So that's kind of like, how are we supposed to work through this? So that's kind of the plan that we have going forward. So as we look at the next meeting, you should expect to see some bid information to be able to determine which vendor you would like to go forward with on that solar project. That'll go to the board. The board will approve that in January, hopefully. And then we'll move on to the next phase of that, which will be a much deeper dive by the vendor to kind of finalize that contract. So this would be awarding a bid, and then the next step is they're gonna really understand our infrastructure so that they can give us a kind of a final contract with the numbers and everything. So right now, the first version is gonna be somewhat round numbers.
And so it's geothermal and solar together, or?
So technically the way the process, the way the statute kind of calls out is you work with an energy saving company to identify if there's some potential for something to happen, which is what we did, which is what you've heard. We then put it up for a bid for all companies to come in and say, what do you think? That bid did suggest that we wanted to do the geo project and solar, but they would have the ability to bid additional things that they think could provide savings in addition to that, or change things around however they want to do it. Somebody could say we want a 50-acre solar field to be able to do that, and somebody could say it's a 5. And so that's kind of where the differences are between those. But theoretically, they have a wide berth of what they could bid, because what they're bidding on is an energy saving initiative, if you will. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And so price is not intended to be, well, I shouldn't say intended. The statute specifically says that price is not, or cost does not need to be taken into account. And that's because the savings pays for the upfront capital. There is a question of how much capital you're willing to put out in order to save that, but it isn't the same as like this one costs 10 million and this one costs 5 million, because in the end, it pays itself off over time. So it's really about how you want to go about that.
And so is like, how fast it would pay itself off
Correct.
part of that process?
Yeah.
Then? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know, so it's not, so you just say this is what we kind of are thinking of, but none of the specifics like the American solar panels or,
Right. That would be a part of the contract, which would be that next step. It was written in there that is preferred.
Okay.
So, so yeah, so they will be, they'll know that, and people would respond to that. I haven't seen the bids. So, well, they're not due yet, so.
Supervisor Bjork, did you have?
Question, Dan. The fellow that came and gave us the presentation that presented the $11 million
Mhm.
estimate, and that included the manufacture of the solar panels.
Mhm.
And it also spoke of the $3 million from the federal government.
Mhm.
How did he get to be the guy that make the presentation when all the real work is yet to come?
So that was a part of it, that step one is you have to work with an energy savings, they call them an ESCO, energy savings company. And so essentially they're certified to be able to do sorts of those things. And that's really the proof of concept, like is there anything that can be done here is the first step. So that's what we had them come in and do. They then have to bid just like anybody else on whether they get the final.
How did we get
Project.
him then? I mean,
How do we,
you don't open the
Right.
phone book and say,
right.
energy saving guys.
We knew about the company and people in the area, and we had met with some others as we were just looking into some of the different options related to energy savings.
So is his proposal,
I found him. How's that?
in talking about how the energy savings is going to pay off the program, is that his proposal? Or is that going to be a request for all proposals, or
Yeah.
how
So-
did that fit into it? I
Yeah,
mean,
so
'cause,
what
you know,
what you saw was them saying, we believe that if you were to do this and this, you would be able to pay that off over 25 years. In other words, it is now worth putting out an RFP to go find all of the companies and have them tell you about, to have them give you their options of how you would go about doing that. So it's a recognition of the fact that we don't have staff here that could have looked at that and said, well, I think that's gonna be this much and that's gonna cost this much and we'll be able to pay that off in time. We need to go work with a professional to do that, and that's what they were.
Did we have to pay him to
No.
give that presentation?
No.
Okay, so are we gonna look at it as closely as, your energy cost now is at this level, and with our geniusness, we're going to be able to provide you energy at this level, and then you'll be saving money. Will we have things like over a period of how long? I think somebody just asked that.
Yep.
And we're talking about millions of dollars. So will Dunn County generate income I mean, the cost of the money, where's the cost of the money? Are we going to, will that be part of it? I mean, if they're gonna pay our electric bills,
Mhm.
our energy bills, heating, whatever, and,
Well, go ahead.
I mean, will that all be part of it? Not just the bid to do the project, but the cost of the project through its entirety.
So they get to bid kind of how they want to go about that. The way that I expect and the way that most of these work is that we would finance it. So we would pay the upfront cost. And then we will pay that off over time so like right now, I had this number in my head at one point. We spend about $500,000 a year with Excel. So what we're saying there is once they implement this, our Excel bill, let's just say, goes down to 200,000, right? So now we have $300,000 in our budget. That is the same levy that would have paid the electric bill. So it isn't new money. Nothing was created. It's just we're no longer using it for that purpose. We're now using it to pay off that solar investment and the geothermal investment. And then once that's paid off, then that savings that we've had over all of that time, then that comes back in, and that's when you would actually see the savings or that making that revenue available for the
See,
people.
here's the only thing that I find questionable about the whole project. I really like brown Swiss cows. And there are people on the board that really love thermal and geothermal. I'll go out and pay more money because I like brown Swiss cows. I'm afraid that if you have people that are so steeped into geothermal and solar that we don't care what it costs, it's just the right thing to do because we like brown Swiss cows. I mean, are we gonna be able to sort out what it really costs versus what we really want? Or is that the 29 member problem you're talking about?
Well, so that would be like as these bids come in, the five of you, it is five, right? Yeah. The five of you will decide which one of those bids you think is the best one and make that recommendation to the board.
But the board can go and.
The board could amend that recommendation and pick something else, 100%.
But I mean, I'm not off base here in thinking that there are people that think that, my goal in life is to reduce the use of fossil fuels. I mean, that's out there. So I just don't want the Dunn County taxpayer to have to fund their desire to eliminate fossil fuels.
Right.
I think it's a good idea. I'm just asking these questions because, it's energy. Well, I mean, come on. I live in the town of Springbrook, and I'm gonna see 2,000 acres of good cropland possibly go to solar. So I mean, it's
Yep.
kind of a burr in my saddle.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, but I don't, well, okay, I just got questions about it. I hope it goes. And I hope they're honest with us. And if there's federal money to get, we better make sure that we get it. Because if anybody in here knows what the federal government's gonna be a year from now, is a pretty smart guy or gal.
Right.
Because, okay,
My question is needing to review these bids, the reason that we are having our next meeting on January 6th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, will we be having will we be having another facilities meeting at our regular time in January or?
That is at the discretion of the board.
Oh, okay, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Just, just thinking
Yep.
about I'm thinking about the calendar.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's-
Larry, I do want it to be clear because you guys are going to be the leaders to the board in this project. So the alternatives on the table are, we have to fix the HVAC system in the judicial center. So we can either spend $4 to $5 million to do that out of flat out taxpayer dollars, out of borrowing it and building that system. That's option number one. Option number two is to work with a company that's going to guarantee us that we can use this energy savings to pay for that system at no additional taxpayer cost. And if we don't meet that measure, they'll pay the difference. That's really what's on the table. Well, but that's the whole point of it. I think Dan has indicated this earlier. There's layers of rules on the state level around performance-based contracting that are protections, because you're not the first person who said, I don't believe them. And that they're very specific rules around how that happens. To try to guarantee the protections that would be in place for that.
I'd like to see it work.
Thank you.
When is all this information going to be available to us? Is it going to be to the next meeting or are we going to get that earlier?
it-
You know,
Let
like
me
all the
check the
bids?
exact timeline, because I don't want to say that it's a week earlier, but I believe we will have the information for you a week earlier. The intent is to not throw it at you, to have you read it day of. And the same with the full board, to be able to do that, so. Yeah. Yes, there,
How many pages?
there will be. It's gonna be a lot of words, but you know, if you've ever read those reports, I always say that there's an executive summary and then there's the, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna tell you, and then I'm gonna tell you that, and then I'm gonna tell you what I told you. So,
Do we need some kind of, what do you call it? A matrix or like some, so that we are checking off the same things for every,
so
or looking for the same
So
thing.
I will provide that. It was some of the scoring criteria was built into the RFP, so they're familiar with the items that we would be looking at. But without cost being a factor, most of that is qualitative stuff. So it is, I mean, you can look at, yeah, you know, years paid off and things like that. My expectation is that would be a discussion amongst the group of, you know, I like this one for this reason, or I like this one for that reason.
Since my computer doesn't work very well, can I get a hard copy mailed to me with all that? Or is that going to be too many papers?
It's gonna be a lot of pages, but we can get you some, we can get,
Okay, thank you.
and make sure we're These RFP processes become a bit of little bit of secrecy. So we just need to make sure that we're not sharing
Well, I can
them.
come and pick them up personally if you want me to.
I think the big thing would be, and I think even as we share it with everybody, even if it's electronic or not, it is not to be shared. So we'll share some of those details in the end, right? But
If we have to make a decision, I wouldn't think the cost of paper, on an $11 million project.
no, I'm not worried about that. No,
Good.
no.
Then-
It was making sure that things don't get in the wrong hands.
All of that information is gonna be proprietary to those companies, how much they're charging. They
Oh,
don't
okay.
want
I,
their
I,
other
I
vendors.
understand. I get it.
Mhm.
Their bid is their bid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fine.
Yep.
I get it.
And do you know how many are there for bids or that's an unknown at the time?
I don't expect it to be a difficult decision. How's that?
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Anybody gonna take us out for lunch, Dan?
that would not be allowed. Um,
Any other questions? Okay. All right. So then we're up to the discussion strategy for sale.
So, I will
Land.
speak to this as you look at our agenda. You might understand maybe a little bit of why we wanted to do this. So, and we have an item on the agenda to talk about the parcel of land next to Oak Leaf Clinic, previously known as Prevea. So as we talked about, or as we were approached about a sale of land, and we kind of had some conversation about this as it related to the transfer station as well, of where in the county, what committee manages the sale of land, and how does that whole process kind of work out? And we, speaking with the county manager, myself, and Chair McCullough, we kind of were just talking about like, how do we want to manage all of these things as apparently this is something that's going to be happening. So the process that we kind of put together, so from the ordinance, we kind of felt like the facilities committee is the right place to be making the decisions, the initial, and kind of running the sale of that land. But the sale of the land will require full board approval. That's in the state statute. So we kind of run into this, how much work do we want to do in order to have the full board say no? And so the process that we kind of came to do that is it would start here. So this committee will look at that and decide whether you have interest in sale and gathering information and getting all of that. Once you feel like we want to move forward with the sale of the land, we'll bring that up to the county, to the full board as a preliminary approval. I think very similar to the debt, as you talk about debt, we pass that resolution to say that we're going to borrow, and then we do another one later when we actually borrow. So a similar process with the land here. And so the next step would be sending a resolution to the full board that says we want to put this for purchase and we're going to do it this way. However, we want to kind of go about that. And then once you receive that, then we'll go forward. Staff will kind of work through the sale of that land. Once we have that, then we'll work through kind of the final contract within the facilities committee and then send that to the full board for the final approval. So it'll go to the board twice, but kind of living through this area. So wanted to bring that up. I would say it's kind of at your discretion. You don't have to send it to the full board to get approval before you actually go forward again, but I think we felt like if you don't do that, staff are going to put in a whole bunch of time. We're going to work with a potential buyer and get to this level that we really don't want to be saying, oh, sorry, at that point. So, so that was kind of the process, and that's what we wanted to update you on. As you'll see, 2 items coming up later. So one of them is the sale that we talked about, and the other one is the transfer station. Even though we've kind of moved forward with a lot of that process, we put it on there and said, all right, if we're going to change our process, why don't we just align this one with that? The rezone of that property is going to go to the full board in January. So if we get this to the full board in January, approve both of those, we'll put it for bid and then we're ready to go. So it shouldn't affect the timeline on the sale of the transfer station by doing that. So that's what that's about. And you gotta.
Go ahead.
So for the sale of the land, do we have to put out bids for everybody, or is it just for that one particular organization?
You do not have, there is no requirements for how you want to sell land that we could find. The determination made by this committee, when we talked about the transfer station, we were going to do a bid process and then found a way to slow down that whole process. But, but that was a determination. And that, once again, as we talk about that, that would be something as we send this resolution to the board is to say, we are going to put the transfer station up for bid on using a sealed bid method of sale, right? So then they would all be able to see that. The other one, you could say, we are going to put this up for bid, and that's not on an agenda today, but you could come to the conclusion, we're going to put this up for a bid and we have a potential buyer before we get into negotiation. Should we go about something more? So that would be kind of the idea behind that first resolution, is to say, we're going to put it up for sale and this is how. But you are not held to anything.
So you have a potential person that wants to buy this 8.72 acres? Is that why this?
Oh, you're looking at mine, huh? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
Where do you have that?
It says. So,
All right. And then it looks like the winter closure of the rec park.
Yes, I wanted to bring this to the facilities committee and get some direction from you guys, get your thoughts, ideas on it. So in the past, the entrance by Oaklawn School, the east entrance of the rec park, has been closed off. Prior to myself taking over as manager, it was always closed in the wintertime right there at that entrance. And then it was closed off at the other end, just in from Main Street, so that you could still come in from Main Street and get to the hockey arena. And then the north entrance on 17th Street was always left open. So there are 2 entrances there. And it was always closed off because of the snow hill is one thing, kids sliding down there. And then also for kids walking by the horse arena on the pavement there, because of the row of pine trees there, it gets icy on that section of road. Facilities has always kept it plowed, and with it being closed off out at the street, then you didn't have the traffic coming through there with kids walking. So after I took over as manager of the department, I had discussion with a couple of people from hockey, and there were people that indicated that it'd be nice to have that open. So we opened it up, left it open for the winter, and kept it open for a couple of years. And then we had issues of the pavement breaking up, potholes really broke up. And the year that it broke up was dump trucks and buses going through there and all the through traffic. And I've always been told, I don't know how much fact there is into it, but I was always told that the rec park really wasn't built for winter use for the streets. The pavement wasn't thick enough for that heavy traffic and everything going through there, and thinking that, hey, this is why it got broke up, is because of all the frost and the heavy traffic going through. So I wanted to throw it out there to you guys, get your thoughts of the, if that should be closed off at the Oak Lawn entrance there, if it should be closed off by, the city water building, if it should not be closed off at all. I think that we almost have to close off in front of the sledding hill, because that sledding hill, kids come down there and they do cross that road. What facilities would do if it's decided to close it off by the city water building is we would move the yellow gates up to that point, have it blocked off there, and then on the opposite end, in from Main Street, we'd have barricades there. It doesn't always stop everyone, because there's still people that drive around that, but that would help out there. Really, recommendation from the facilities committee is what I was looking for with this, as to what you guys are thought, where it should be blocked off.
Anyone had thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
And that new tar that you put in front of the grandstand, is that gonna be blocked off for sure? You know, that ain't gonna be a throughway.
No, that would be all, if it is blocked off at the Oak Lawn entrance right by the street coming in, then you wouldn't have the traffic going in front of the grandstand. If we block it off by the city water building, then you're gonna have traffic coming in from the Oak Lawn entrance, and they're gonna come up and come past the grandstand and head back out either to 17th, either the north entrance or the Main Street entrance. And hockey really tries to deter people from driving through in front of the hockey arena, because they have people crossing from the parking lot. So most people will stay on where the new pavement is and get out to 17th Street.
So if you put a sign up says no trucks, would that help?
I don't know if it would or not, Ron. I know there was construction, the whole housing project was going on behind or south of the rec park. And that's what was happening there, is these dump trucks were hauling sand from one side of the development to the other, and they were cutting through the rec park. That's one
Yeah,
of the big
well,
things.
I think as the road is not really designed for, like the specs of a real county road, you're saying that this one is more like just a path for light traffic.
That's what I have been told. I don't know exactly the thickness of pavement that the highway put on when they put in the new pavement, but it's not as thick as your highways or your streets.
Well, I guess it'd be best to close it, so that you can keep people off of it. Anyways, when I drive through town, I think it'd be, it's a nice thing to, oh yeah, I can cut across there to, save some time and stuff, but, I think people can get around by going around, just, then we have to pay for the road to be fixed anyway, so it'd be nice just to, close it.
I think the truck and bus traffic is an item, and I think the kids that are sharing the road with cars is a second item. But I'm looking at it a little bit differently than was discussed. I think all you got to do is make one call to Menominee Transportation and say, you guys can't cut across there, and that problem is solved. And if it's not, then you start writing tickets. And they're only there at a particular time of the day. And if the sheriff has to send somebody down there to give the ticket to the bus driver that has to cut across there, I think the news would travel real fast that buses aren't accepted there. Number two, kids sharing spaces with cars. I haven't been there when the kids are walking to school, as you're saying, on north side of the road away from the pine trees. But I have been there many, many times on a Saturday and Sunday where there are all kinds of kids carrying great big bags of stuff and little kids and more kids than parents got hands for, going from the parking lot across the street into the hockey arena. Now, there's your kid card safety issue as far as I'm concerned. And if you would allow cars to come in from Oak Lawn School, they can come into the parking lot and they can unload their kids, and their kids can safely walk across the street into the rec park. So as far as an issue with cars and kids, I think having it open would have less situations where you would have cars. I mean, I watched my grandson one time chase, he was playing with a kid in the building, and the parent takes the kid to the car, and my grandson with no coat on goes running out, Ella, 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 Ella. Reminded me of the Graduate movie where he was shaking the door. Well, anyway, that kid didn't look at all who the heck was coming or going in front, between the parking lot and the thing. So fixing the road is a whole lot cheaper than having a problem with a kid being injured. And the people that use the rec park are taxpayers, and we fix the road with their money. And I'd like to see it closed off on the hill, of course, but I think we need to give people access to parking where they don't have to go drive in front between the parking lot and the skating area.
Any other? I'm not sure if opening at Oak Lawn would solve that though. Because don't a lot of people come in from 17th that direction, or do more people come from Oak Lawn?
I think you get, I'm not sure the numbers, but I think you would probably get just as many people coming through the Oak Lawn entrance as you would the other two entrances. It's more convenient for people living to the east and southeast and northeast to come into Oak Lawn. And then, they come that direction because they have that stoplight, or leave because they have the stoplight there on 29.
And I think a little bit to Larry's point is, I don't know, probably out of place here and even speaking, but there is leaving those events is a time that there's a lot of that traffic that's happening. I think that's what you're referring to, correct, Larry? When there's a big hockey event going on and a game ends,
Sure.
there is 70 cars leaving that parking lot at the same time.
Also, those games go all day long. So I mean, you've got and the other thing is that you have a number of communities, Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls, that are coming from the east, that are coming to the rec park for their kids to play hockey, just as you've got the New Richmonds and coming from the other way. And I guess I'm just saying we should do whatever we can do to avoid congestion, because congestion causes problems. And I spent a lot of time on the road, and I am totally amazed at how stupid people are with their safety.
To go along with that, Larry, is I agree with, a safety point is that people leaving the rec park, if they choose, they don't have to go out the main street or the north entrance on 17th and then try and make a left turn onto Stout Road. They have the option of going out Oak Lawn entrance, going out going up to the stoplight by Rosback Realty and making a left there. And also making a right there at the stoplight where it goes into two lanes heading east as opposed to Stout Road with one single lane. So there is a safety factor there as well.
So am I hearing we keep the road open but close off by the water building and the
You
main?
need a motion or we're just discussing it?
It's a discussion recommendation for what facility staff would do, what we would do, I guess. I don't know that there needs to be any type of motion or anything on it.
It's an action item.
Oh, is it?
And here's and it's gonna continue to be an open question. I mean, this could change whatever we decide to do today. We might really realize we're knuckleheads in February and we change it.
Sure.
Or my case, a knucklehead in January. Or even Christmas, no.
So I would maybe add to that, you know, a recommendation could be that we could do a study of sorts. There's professionals out there that can help come up with the best way for what that traffic flow should look like. So it may be a recommendation of how we move forward and say, we'll go look at that. There could be a cost associated if we hire somebody, but
Yeah.
um,
You know, there's always been the argument I've heard in the past of that, you know, going through the rec park, it's not a city street, but people use it as convenience and go through there. At one time, years past, that there was fence all the way around the rec park and it was gated off. I don't remember those times because I didn't come around Menominee that much in my younger years, but, I've been told stuff about it. Deb probably knows more. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for allowing me to throw my 2 cents in here. And you're right, Scott. I get calls when it is closed, you know, how can you close a city street without permission? And it's like, well, it's not a city street. The city street ends at the gate there and so forth. But that's my biggest call. But today I had an ICE board meeting out there at 3:00. So I knew this was on the agenda. So I thought I'm just gonna, I mean, I pay attention, but I really paid attention. And there was 3 school buses that went. One went east and 2 went west. I'm assuming one went to pick kids up. And then, but there's a ton of kids that walk through there. And there was a lot of traffic through there on that both roads, in front of the grandstand and the other road headed towards the school, I'm assuming, to pick up kids, you know, and that's the big thing that I always got from people calling is that I'm elderly and I don't want to drive Stout Road. And that's my cut through place to get to the clinic and the hospital, because then I can get to the stoplight. And it's like, well, I mean, we get the same concerns and issues in July during the fair when we charge and stuff. But it's kind of surprising when you sit there for a couple hours how much traffic cuts through there at that time of the day. And our meeting started at, I think I said that 3, but and then I came right here. But yeah, so.
I would say it's more important to close that when we have road bans on, so nobody's cutting through there. But if there's that much traffic going through, I guess we do have some issues. It's not a city street and we shouldn't be letting anybody run through there. Definitely it should be closed during road bans. That's not a road that's gonna last if buses and everything else is going across there. But
Sounds like in better weather, it's just as bad, so. Any other?
Well, if you're gonna talk about congestion, go on Brackett and Broadway at 5:00. When you're heading south over the bridge on 25, there's that stoplight right next to that I can't even think of the store, or I mean, the traffic backs up really bad there, but that's not our problem. So if you think that a problem of closing the street and they have to drive around, tell them to drive on Broadway at 5:00 and
So I don't know that we have consensus or any thoughts? I don't know if we, yeah, if we, I mean, because last year we didn't have any snow, so it probably wasn't,
Yeah, last year we didn't have much for snow and we ended up having to close that off because it was so broke up and had gravel in there to try and fill it in.
um, so I could go either way.
Of course, as the insurance man's daughter, I'm always thinking liability, so, um, you know, given that this is not a city street, is there some way of making people recognize? I don't know how you do it, but I mean, is there some way of educating the public? Of course, then you're gonna get people from out of town who aren't gonna know and are gonna assume it's a city street too, but, um, it seems, you know, with kids walking that road and they only have the road to walk on. There's no sidewalk because it's not a city street, you know, so you can't insist on a sidewalk being there. Um, kind of torn. I understand, you know, the things, but I remember back in the day, it was always closed off and nobody thought twice about it. You know, it was, oh, well, it's winter time. We got the sledding hill, you know, and even if there's not snow, there could be snow. So at any given time during the
So
winter.
can I propose that, as if the committee can decide like a yay, nay until this is like open it and close it until, but we could do, like I said, a study or work with some things and talking to the ice board and others. As I'm hearing some of these things, I'm thinking, I don't know the work of that, but I mean, this is a moving gate. It could be something that is closed during the day and the hockey association has the ability to open that up for their events. So kind of like event driveways and different things like that. And it's something I think we could work with them on coming up with a solution, because what I'm hearing is some concerns around the daytime traffic. And not, and but then also what does that cause as the rec park is being used and essentially we're closing off two entrance / exits typically, correct?
Oh, no, we're closing off one,
Just the
just the one by Oakland School, yeah.
but the other way, right? You put in the gate.
So the other way,
Main Street.
from Main Street, so, we close off from just in, so that you can come in from Main Street and then take a left and go down in front of the hockey arena to get to hockey. So that's accessible to the arena. Well, yeah, that's something that people come in off of Main Street, turn and go down in front of the hockey arena, and then it's dangerous for people going across from the parking lot to the arena.
You know, like I said, back when, you know, back when my kids used the ice arena, they didn't play hockey, but, you know, or we were going to something, you know, open skate or whatever. Um, we just knew it wasn't going to be open through. And I kind of have a problem. I can't, is there not some way to tell the buses, you can't go through there? You are not, you know, I understand people liking it as a cut across, but it's not a city street. That's what I keep coming down to.
Mhm.
And, you know, we have control over access, I would think.
And yeah, it's Larry's suggestion about talking to Menominee Transportation
Yeah,
about
exactly.
not going through there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Menominee Police Department would write any tickets on there. I don't know. I've seen them sitting out there many times, but I've never known them to write anybody a ticket, have anybody pulled over because it's not a city street, it's county property.
Maybe that would be a question, Dan, that, you know, could be brought up with the PD and about what is the, what's the intention or yeah.
So
So
You'll just need an ordinance for that.
I would be more in support of closing it for all those issues. Or to me, it looks like a good place to put a toll road in. One or the other.
Right. Yes.
Perfect.
Love that. Or
What
can
they do in Jersey.
or can we block off for the sledding using barricades or whatever and just don't plow that one section? And then can we give hockey access for events
So,
to open the Oak Lawn?
yeah, we can
At
block,
night.
we can block off by the sledding hill to make it safe for the kids sledding. We normally always do that, you know, whether we put barricades up or plow snow up to there. We can do that. Dan's idea of working with hockey as far as access to opening and closing the gates, you know, for their events and stuff like that. I agree. It's a compromise. And I think it's a good idea.
Be better.
Yeah, and so then during the day, the people just know it's closed.
Well, I think everybody would agree that notifying Menominee Transportation would be, you know, a real needed thing to do. And then, you know, the discussion on when it's open and when it's not open. I mean, I don't know if the traffic that I'm worried about is only on the weekends, maybe, when people are coming to skate at the weekends. I don't know. And then I guess I would even ask the school districts, do you have safe crossings for the kids going across to Oak Lawn or to the middle school? I mean, I went to the middle school quite a bit last year and I didn't see anybody walking up that sidewalk, you know, but what does the school district do with those kids that come walking across that road? Do they is there a special effort or safety thing or, you know, so I mean, I'd involve the school and the bus association and kind of lay out our situation and what we're trying to accomplish and you know, uh, it- they did such a nice job on that blacktopping by the um, racetrack. I just thought, you know, it's you know, it's pristine. You know, I just wish we had more of it. You know, but if you do not operate on Rosebud times and you notify the school district, we don't want buses running across there, and you get some information from the school district on how they handle pedestrians walking over from the rec park, and uh, uh, you know, if the city, if it is Dunn County property, maybe it's a sheriff's department that gives a ticket to a dump truck. But if the dump truck project is not on anymore, maybe that problem has gone away. But you know, you know, I can go either way on it.
As I'm hearing buses, is this a year round? That's independent of,
Well, September
Winter.
through
yeah.
May.
Okay. So that's a discussion with them, whether we
Do this or not.
close the road because of winter or not. It is a,
Mhm.
Can we put signs up that says no through traffic? I mean, on both ends? I mean, event parking or event traffic only? I don't know. I mean, that might help Some, probably not, but at least, you know, like I say, the dump trucks probably aren't the problem anymore, but it's a nice road. I don't want to see it get trashed. That's why I say I really think it should be closed during certain times at least in the spring. But no through traffic sign, I mean, that'd be,
And this might not overlap, but the horse project people are always very cooperative at anything that they're told to do. So you wouldn't want to have it blocked off when, you know, they might need access to whatever they got going on.
They ride in the winter?
Not that I'm aware of. I've never seen anybody use it during the winter there.
So, so, so we're blocking off for sledding. Do we want to allow hockey the ability to open? Like, so we close it and give hockey for events the ability to open? So then that would stop.
I have one more question.
Mhm.
Does hockey, you know, they got so many people using that building. Is that like all day long, nighttime, daytime? Do they use that a lot? Like maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning or at noon or? Cause you know, you got like, the college, the men's and then you got the high school. And then you got people that want to just skate for free. And then you got, I don't know, what, pee-wees and all that stuff. So
So they.
when is it closed?
See, I would almost think of
I
it being
believe
next, but
Stout practices like during the day, sometime, and then pretty much once school ends, it's going to be high school and youth leagues until about 9 o'clock at night, every night of the week, and then all day Saturday and Sunday,
is that practice or?
or otherwise, yeah,
All of the above.
So I would,
they don't waste time.
so I would almost, is that the 70 cars or the 70 cards for tournaments and games? So
I think it's the games, the tournaments and games is when the busy times
you
would be.
could
Yeah.
keep it closed except for events, which would most likely be in the evenings or weekends all day. Right? I mean, because for practices, I would think they could all converge from 17th. And so, but I don't know, do we have the ability to do that? Give them the ability to open the gate, Scott?
And we talk with them and find out what their thoughts
think.
are. I mean, I'm certain they all have their thoughts. Right? Having gone a couple of years without it and then last year, I'm sure they probably have opinions and some of them found it and some of them not. My kids don't play hockey. I don't spend a lot of time there,
Sure.
but
So I would say, sounds like we would like to close it, but potentially with the opportunity for hockey for events to open it. Save the road. That, okay?
Yep.
All right. That's our recommendation. Does that help?
I think, also seeing what Dan can come up with for,
For-
some data collection around this issue.
Buses and things.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk to buses as well about kind of year round. Please don't go in there. But so that is an action item if you want to
Okay, does anyone want to
formalize
make
that.
a motion or to what I said? Or can I make a motion?
Okay. I move that Dan collect information from the Hockey Association and who else did we say?
Nominee transport.
Nominee Transit and I thought there was a third one. The schools, yeah, the schools. About the issues around that and with the idea that what we would like to see happen is that this road stays as pristine as we can, keep it in good working order. And finding ways of doing that, and this is not a good motion. I needed to write this down. Sorry, I'm rambling.
1 and 2 here, so I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right. We had options, didn't we? Oh, right.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
those are just suggestions.
Yeah. Basically collect the data and, bring it back and let's see what we got.
Right, but in the meantime, we will keep, sorry, I'm adding to your motion.
No, it's
so-
fine.
Here, that we will keep the road closed while giving hockey an opportunity to open it for events.
Yes.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That's, that was a little more complicated than I thought it would be. All right. So then 7B. So this, I think someone has some more information.
Yeah. So I will provide some information on that. So, and Chris is here, I believe, just for this particular topic as well. So we were approached by a developer who was in contact with the city about the parcel of land between essentially here and Oakleaf Clinic. So to the east of Oakleaf and south of the neighbors of Dunn County. And they were interested in developing that area, had asked us about putting in some senior living areas and potentially a daycare in developing that location. So
Are you talking like kinder care or elder care? Daycare. Okay.
well, elder living, so not necessarily care. So just homes that were specifically designed for the elderly population and would have limited access to others. And then there would be also potentially a child care center in that area. And there's also another little it's not a parcel, it's not officially a parcel, it's a little dot. If you the road that goes to the neighbors, and then there's the road that comes over here and another road, there happens to be just a little
Some people drive off that road.
a little a little plot of ground there that we were also kind of looking at that may potentially be able to house some, whether that's a facility or potentially like a park type location out there. But mainly I think what we were looking at is we were approached by somebody about this land and they were interested in pursuing things. So we wanted to get your kind of approval to move forward with that. And our thoughts are the first step there is we need to know what that's worth. So gather a little bit more information about what that is and to get an appraisal and bring that back to let you decide whether we want to kind of a little bit more formally move forward with that. So.
Dan, I sat right next to Elton Christofferson, this close, the last time around, in the old, meeting room. And the discussion kind of hinged around at the time when they sold for the medical facility is like, whose property is it? Is it part of the, Dunn County or is it part of the healthcare center? Now, we had a really good report from Director of the neighbors about the severity of lack of senior health care and facilities in the state of Wisconsin. And I mean, I didn't think it was a clear and cut decision on if you sell a piece of property, is it county property into the general fund? Or is it county property that goes back to the original owner, which was the healthcare center? And maybe if you're going to look at selling more of that property, which is, I would say, in dispute on whose property it is, that maybe if the sale of that property would alleviate some of the financial stress of the neighbors and consider that that is a community resource that we need to really support. Thank goodness they made a little money, but that can go the other way too. But I didn't think it was clear at all who owned that property.
So it's a valid point and one that we researched. Um, So, yeah, if you look at the plat or our online version, you'll see that that property is in the name of Dunn County Healthcare. The Wisconsin statute, and I just pulled it up, has an Article 59.06 labeled county property. It says, how held? County property shall be held by the clerk in the name of the county. That property is the county's property.
That the county has overstepped their boundaries in acquiring the property from the original owner of the county, the healthcare center. And we've chipped away at that healthcare center time and time and time again. And we'd better make sure that we find a way to keep the healthcare center or the neighbors
Mhm.
a vital contributor to this community because we spend a lot of money at the other end of the life cycle,
Mhm.
and we seem to want to kind of bail out at the back end.
Yep.
And maybe you see it older, it's easier to see.
Yep.
But I thought her report from the neighbors last time was really eye-opening, and we should take it seriously.
So I think in regard to that, I think that whether that was a developer telling us something we wanted to hear or not, and I think that will be a part of as we go forward with decisions. But we did kind of feel like the proposal of elderly living there actually works well to the neighbors. And I know the bistro isn't open now, but that's one of those things that, does that become even more viable as you have an elder population living essentially right there to be able to take advantage of some of those facilities as well as the Meals on Wheels and things like that. Sorry.
Do we need a motion for this thing or what do we need? All right, I move that we gather information for an appraisal, pursue the sale of the parcel.
Oh, I didn't have mine. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that passes. So now we have one last for the transfer station. So this is to
Right.
get it to the board for like preliminary approval. Okay.
Correct.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so this would be a resolution, so kind of do this verbally now, but that'll be something that will get written out with some whereases and whatnot. It's for the full board. But yeah, my thought would be that would just be a recommendation to put that for sale and then to explain that the intent of the committee was to do that via a closed bid. So. Well, so you will need to, yeah, kind of approve that, and then we will make the, you do. This is the resolution that will go to the full board, so then it'll go through executive and go to the board, yeah.
I move we, have a resolution, ordinance recommended to the county board, for the sale of the Dunn County Transfer Station
Yeah.
via closed bid. There you go.
For a second. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. So that is the last item on our agenda, and then our next meeting, in order to look at the solar and geothermal bids, is January 6th at 5 PM. So that's a Monday, correct? Is it Monday?
Yep.
It's a Monday.
Monday night at 5. Oh, is that
Let's come back.
convention?
I was gonna say Zoom.
Yeah, you can
There
zoom
you
in.
go. Not Zoom, but Teams.
Teams.
Okay.
Or when is your convention?
Oh,
You're gonna have to miss happy hour, Larry.
It starts on Sunday.
Until
Till Thursday.
until
I
Thursday.
think it's just an extra
Starts
trip.
till Wednesday.
I think it's just an extra trip for the Dell. It'll
Okay.
work out.
You'll work it out?
I'll make it work.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So our next meeting is January 6th at 5. And so then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.